just last month, the Biden-Harris administration was actively telling people how to pay their taxes on all of their tips, releasing this IRS guidance that includes a, quote, interactive tax assistant, which checks to see if people's tips are taxable. Joining me now is Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty, a member of the Senate Banking, Foreign Relations, Appropriations, and Rules Committees. Senator, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Likewise.
You know, it's interesting. All you have to do is go back and look at all of the conversations happening around the Inflation Reduction Act, and you get very clearly the $80 billion that was sent to the IRS as part of the Inflation Reduction Act for them to hire thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of new IRS agents to go find tips that can be taxed. Your reaction?
Yeah, it's just amazing. And again, to see Joe Biden come out and say this, adopting this policy. Look, plagiarism is not new to Joe Biden. You know that. But to see both Biden and Harris plagiarize President Trump's idea, because it's popular, because it's working, and that's why they're trying to copy it. But we know what they're going to do. We've had 3.5 years to see what they've done. Hiring more IRS agents, going after everybody in America. The tax proposal that they have for the year going forward is going to create another $4 to $5 trillion more in taxes. And who are they going to tax? Job creators, employers, taking us from 21% to 28% corporate tax rate. And when President Trump came in and fixed this problem from the Obama administration, we virtually halted the tax inversions that were taking place. That is, U.S. companies moving their domicile overseas. That stopped under President Trump because we lowered the corporate tax rate, made ourselves competitive here in the U.S. They're going to double capital gains rates. That's going to crush capital formation, and wait till you see what that does to the stock market, the run that will create. These policies that they put forward make no sense for our economy. It's all about taxing the rich, and they're just jumping on this as another talking point, Maria, with no intention to actually do anything about it for the real working men and women of America.
Well, we really don't know what Kamala Harris is for and what she's against, because there's all of this back and forth. For a long time, she was very adamant, a lot of conviction that she wanted to ban fracking, a lot of conviction that she wanted Medicare for all. But now her aides are coming out and saying, no, maybe not. Maybe she won't do this. She's not necessarily doing that. We haven't heard it from her because she hasn't released any official policies on anything. We're hoping that economic policy is revealed this week. But, I mean, do you know where her heart is in terms of policy?
I think all we can look at is what she said in the past. Now that she's a candidate for a couple of weeks, everything seems to be flipping. But I tell you what I worry about is going forward, Maria, because if she has no policy, she has no position, and she has no internal gyroscope, how is she going to negotiate with leaders like Xi, like Putin, like the Ayatollahs in Iran? Who's going to respect her?
Yeah, great point. As we got another group going to Shanghai this week to try to encourage a better relationship with China. I'll get to that in a moment. I want to get your take on all these bills that have still yet to pass. The GOP House Freedom Caucus says if Congress has to pass another continuing resolution next month, which I think you would agree is where this is going, the bill should only fund the government into early 2025. So literally a few months, because it needs to include the SAVE Act, which prevents non-citizens from voting in federal elections. The Harris campaign requiring all people to present an ID to attend her Arizona rally over the weekend, and yet she has called Republican voter ID laws racist. And in 2021, she claimed that rural voters can't prove their identity because they don't have access to copy machines. So this is a doozy. Watch this one.
Is agreeing to voter ID one of those compromises that you'd support?
I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't. There's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them.
Senator, she actually said that, that you can't prove your identity because you don't have access to a Kinko's.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, the lack of thought that goes into this. Again, these are nothing but talking points. Again, she contradicts herself. When it actually does come to real security on anything, she understands that you need to have a voter ID. That's why she required it. I wonder if she used those parole certificates that illegals get as they cross the border. She was in Arizona, by the way. That's a border state. So I wonder if they allowed those parole certificates to be used for admission to her rally. In any event, she says one thing, does another. It's really hard to tell where this candidate is coming from. Certainly as a world leader, we're very, very concerned.
Yeah, but Senator, this is a serious issue. You've got 10 million illegals in the country now in the last 3.5 years on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's watches. And there's a high expectation, certainly among Republicans, that those illegals are trying to register to vote or are already registered to vote, and they'll do so in the upcoming election. How much confidence do you have that we will have a fair election in November? And what can you do as an elected official in terms of ensuring illegals are not going to vote?
I think the concern is very real. It's got to be handled at the state level. That's the way our voting laws work. Certainly the SAVE Act, I understand the premise behind that. If that passes along with the CR, it's going to be too late. We need to have these laws enforced right now on the books. Voting is going to begin very, very soon. It's up to the states, and we're going to have to be very, very diligent to do this. You've got, District of Columbia. I've received now in my Washington mailbox there 4 different pieces of information about how, as an illegal, I can register and vote in the District of Columbia. We've got to bring this to an end, but it's got to be done again at the state-by-state level to fix it. New York, same problem.
Your thoughts on the foreign policy, Senator, at hand? Israel putting its military on high alert as it braces for an expected retaliatory attack from Iran and its proxy forces as soon as this week. The White House says it's prepared for what could be a significant set of attacks. The Pentagon beefing up U.S. assets in the region, sending a guided missile submarine and speeding up the arrival of a second aircraft carrier. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris's campaign named Elon Goldenberg as its new liaison to the Jewish community. Goldenberg is a strong advocate for a 2-state solution and supports Iran's nuclear deal. He also reportedly spearheaded the Biden administration's sanctions against Israel. So quite the liaison here that she has chosen. He was against Israel in the middle of the fight with Hamas terrorists, Senator.
It's amazing because you've got an administration here with Biden and Harris that want to sanction Israel, that want to withhold arms deliveries to Israel to try to force them into an agreement that won't work. Yet they stopped enforcing all sanctions that we had in place on Iran. They've appeased Iran at every turn. Now Iran is back into full oil production. We shouldn't be allowing them to sell a single barrel of oil. And the result of that has been terror around the region. That's why Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis are back in business. The failure to impose sanctions, the failure to enforce them, is exactly what the Biden administration has done, creating all this havoc. And yet they're putting pressure on Israel to do the exact same thing. It makes no sense whatsoever. They're talking out both sides of their mouth again.
Unbelievable. Senator, we're going to be watching this. Of course, we've got, 85 plus days till Election Day. Thanks very much for walking us through all of that. Good to see you, sir.
Certainly, Maria.